Hello and welcome back to ISRM Voices. I am Musaab Fagiri. And if you're watching us for the first time, ISRM Voices is where we meet or sit down with the members of the Institute of Strategic Risk Management, the people behind the frameworks, the plans, and the professionals who are building and shaping the future of risk management. Some people manage events, and few of them shape how it feels. Today's guest is one of those people. Aaron Billesberger, a fellow member of ISRM, a director of special events and projects with GARTEC, and a regional program co-chair with Event Safety Alliance Canada. He has been recognized nationally for his events work and also public service. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I'm excited to know a lot about you today. So let's take a walk back uh, to your early days. Okay, walk us through your early chapters of professional your careers. What pulled you from one to another chapter, and how and what thread did you see in all of them right now?
Great question. I would say that two things really resonate in terms of just about me, and that's that I like stability, which may sound ironic doing event work and some of the jobs that I've done over the years, but I also like unpredictability. So when I look back at my early working life, when I first started out, I never enjoyed or really stayed in a job for long that was predictable and really brought the same thing day in, day out. At the same time, I also looked for work that was challenging, and I definitely recognized I really enjoyed working with people. Combine that with a lifelong love of music. Believe it or not, I actually played in a rock band back in the days and had a dream of making it big. Um, but I also had a keen interest in people and how choices they made and what paths that led them down in life. So when you take all of those things, it led to me working in some interesting and really varied jobs. So I was a healthcare worker in a psychiatric hospital. I did work as a reserve constable with the Vancouver Police. I was a paid call firefighter, and I ended up making a career with the Correctional Service of Canada. At the same time, that passion for events and working with people in live events stuck with me. And so on the side, through all of that, I continued to work events part time, and that really led up until my retirement from the public sector last year, and then I've continued working in events part time. But looking back, my true passion really is working in live events and the different challenges and rewards that it brings. And I can say to this day, I've been doing that for over 28 and a half years. Every event without exception to this day, there's not one where I don't at some point stand back, look at everything going on around me, and look at people's faces and kind of you get a sense for what they're experiencing, kind of just take it all in. And I can say it really feels amazing to be part of a team that creates that safe, fun, and really memorable experience for people. And I'm one small piece of a very large, I'll call it a village that really it takes to put these events on. And it's great to work with incredible people who are always striving to raise that bar in terms of people's experiences, but also along the lines of event safety.
Great. I think you had a great experiences with you've seen it all: fire, police, events, working in prisons, correctional facilities. I like that. So, what does good leadership feels like on an event day? Okay, and what do teams need from you on that moment, like on a big event day?
I think it's all about communication and giving everyone the information they need to succeed. So when I've seen things not go so well, generally what I've found is it's not because people don't want to do the right thing or do things well. It's they haven't been given the information they need to succeed. So I think that's key is communication and giving people what they need to, whether it's a guest coming to an event, it's a staff or a volunteer working that event, they all need information to be able to have a safe and enjoyable time.
Great. So communication is the number one skills that I think every leader, especially in the events sector as well. Tell me about a moment when safety and security coordination clicked. Okay, what made it work?
I think it's planning. Planning and preparation are critical. And that starts with an accurate risk assessment. So, really identifying, hey, what could potentially go wrong? And then making sure your plans reflect that. And you've prepared everybody so that there's going to be, quick, effective, timely, um, and accurate. And I mean accurate in that we've gathered all available information, made the best possible decision, but it's decision making in a timely manner. And then everybody knows their roles and responsibilities. So, most recent example I could give you was just last year at an event where a weather event was coming in, and we had to evacuate into a building on site, and just how well that all flowed. We had everything prepped. We had audio and video messaging at our stages. We had rehearsed that in a show stop briefing and practice exercise. Everybody knew their roles and responsibilities, and it was a seamless coordination to get the messaging out to everybody, including staff, and get people into position and facilitate that movement of people, calmly, orderly, safely into the building, wait for the weather event to pass, and then resume the show.
Perfect. I like that. Okay, let's go to the fun part a little bit. Can you share with us a night that you still think about? Not not the biggest one, just the one that maybe meaningful. What happened and what did it teach you?
Well, I've got two nights in mind, and I will say, one was a near miss. I'm not sure if you want me to talk about that one right now. The other one was a horrible incident. Actually, wasn't working in events. It was when I worked in the prison system.
Okay,
But which would you like me to share first?
let's go with the prison system.
Okay, so 2008, I was called into the institution for a riot that had broken out. So basically, inmates were rioting, had control of what we believe to be most of the institution. Staff were trapped in safe rooms. And when I arrived on site, the normal process would be, management team would get together, a plan would be developed, signed off by the warden. In this case, it was deemed that the time was of the essence. We needed to respond quickly because lives were in jeopardy. And so the warden basically pulled myself and the ERT leader aside and said, "Do you have a plan? Because I think we need to go in now and get people out." And I very much fell back on my training as an emergency response team member, but other training and that I had done in institutional emergency management. I was actually a national trainer at that time, but all that training, planning and preparation, but also um, talking it through policies and procedures that we had in place, like that all contributed to the success. And it was very much a team effort. But we came up with a plan very quickly, executed it, and really things couldn't have gone better for such a horrible situation. And that was later recognized by the Board of Investigation. But that's probably the incident that has and always will stick with me just because of the severity of it. Um, and the impact it had on people. Like, I think the thing that stuck with me most that night and to this day is the impact it had on people, and the people that I worked with. We lost probably one third of our workforce, and some people never were able to return to work. And working in an environment like that, that there's always a risk, but those incidents are not common. So, you know, it definitely made me appreciate and really value the importance of planning and preparation. Hoping you never get into a situation like that, but definitely finding yourself in that situation, feeling confident enough with the training you've received, the planning and preparation that was in place to be able to go and execute something that, saved lives essentially.
No, that's a great example. I like that. So I'm also curious to hear about a little bit about the near miss incident, and how did maybe that change how you operate in the future, and made adjustment for moving forward, all of that.
Definitely. So this was going back a few years, but I'll tell you the incident and then kind of how it shaped things for me moving forward. But this was a time, I'd say, when not all events that I worked had detailed plans in place, such as show stop procedures, and even just really important safety guidelines around, for example, inspecting infrastructure on site, making sure everything was good to go before we actually opened doors. So what happened this day is those things weren't in place. And I got a call when the headliner went on stage. So the headliner band was the Offspring. If for those that know the Offspring, very active crowd in terms of moshing, jumping up and down, but also crowd surfing. So I got a call from the security supervisor at the barricade saying, "You need to get here. You need to get here now. We're literally holding the barricade together." So obviously the fear was a barricade collapse.
Hmm.
And when I got there and saw the barricade, I saw a whole team of security that was doing an amazing job at literally trying to hold a barricade together. But what I saw very quickly is that there was no pins in the entire top of the barricade. That it was just zap straps, which obviously have no structural integrity whatsoever. So, seeing the severity of the situation, simultaneously, I radioed to the festival director, but also went straight to the stage to get the show stopped, recognizing the threat to life safety. And I was a bit surprised, but I came to a very experienced stage manager, explained what was going on, expecting he was going to turn around and talk to the band's manager that was right at stage right and stop the show. That's not what happened. He looked at me, he walked back to his workstation, and took no further action that I could tell. So I immediately went straight to the band's manager, explained what was happening. He was fantastic, immediately spoke to the artists in their inner ears, and they immediately stopped the show, addressed it with the crowd, got people to step back. And there was a secondary stage. So basically, the barricade was repaired very quickly. The pins from the secondary stage barricade were brought over, put in, and the show went on. But it definitely was the first time I had really kind of sat back, and maybe this should have happened way before, but it really was the first time I had faced a situation like that and was like, that can't happen again. Like I can't believe, and then it brought up the conversation, who's supposed to be inspecting the barricade and making sure everything is there. Who's responsible to make sure we actually have a show stop procedure in place and that we're actually practicing that procedure, doing a briefing and practice exercise on site before we open doors. I mean, this was back in a time where I didn't see that at any events, and I'm happy to say that's changed. But that was the biggest thing for me is no matter our role, we have to make sure these things are in place and that we are preparing properly, planning properly, the communication is out there, everybody knows their roles and responsibilities, and we have a very clear and quick, in terms of that decision making tree, so to speak. We don't want something like this to be going through multiple people. That's just going to delay something where we may need to stop the show instantly. So, making sure we have the right people in place that are going to make those decisions, that are going to do it well, making sure we have the communication process in place. So this is, meeting with artist representatives in advance and confirming, is this an artist number one we want speaking to our crowd? Ideally in many situations we do, but are they prepared to do that? And then what is going to be that quick change? chain of command when it comes to decision making.
Mhm.
Also, having trained crowd managers actually on stage at events, monitoring that crowd for crowd safety issue, making sure your barricade staff are properly trained and understand that their responsibility, primary responsibility, is the safety of the audience in front of them. And it's less of an issue in terms of people trying to get on stage. Like, I think that's a bit of a misunderstanding that may be out there with some people where they feel like, well, barricade, my job's to make sure nobody gets on stage, when really it is ensuring the safety of the crowd in front of them. So there was a lot of takeaways from that situation, and I'm happy that it didn't, things could have gone very wrong that night. I'm happy that there was a good resolution, but it's one of those situations that we could have avoided altogether if we had those other things in place.
Exactly, exactly. So, I think I heard from from your two stories. First thing is, team work, leadership, communication, collaboration. But I also kind of heard a stress, okay, and stressful situation. A lot of you're responsible for people lives and safety, and people that want their event to go on. So you finish that work, you go home. What do you do for fun? How do you kind of stop that, release the tension, and bring back the calm Aaron?
Well, I've been told I'm calm under pressure, but you are so right. Like, we have to have an outlet, like a healthy outlet for, dealing with that stress, but also to me, like just looking after ourselves and doing what we can to increase our resilience because, a lot of us work in jobs that are high pressure. So for me, it's I actually enjoy going to shows still. Some people are like, oh, I can't go without thinking about work. That's not me. I can turn it off. But I would say for me, fitness is a huge part of my routine. And, I love hiking, going to fitness classes at the gym and cycling. Those are kind of I'd say my top three. And the hiking and the cycling, getting out in nature is huge. I don't know. There's just to me it's something that just recharges your battery in so many different ways, and especially getting out in nature. So I traditionally have been a road cyclist. I've really transitioned to mountain biking. I still very much enjoy both, but whether I'm hiking out in nature or I'm on a bike path on a mountain, there's just nothing like it in terms of just getting out and having the wind kind of blowing and through the trees, and obviously seeing little snippets of wildlife, etc. But yeah, that those to me are the activities I enjoy the most.
Great. Last episode, we talked with Jordan, and he's also into cycling and bikes. Is that something common between the event safety personnel?
I actually know a few that are into cycling, running, hiking,
All right.
but I obviously can't speak for all. But definitely, that's something Jordan and I share for sure.
Great. So you've been a part of ISRM for a long time now, and also as a fellowship. So what's ISRM means for you? If you can talk about your fellowship with ISRM as well.
Yeah, I think it's being part of a community of professionals. Like, obviously, we're all involved in different elements of work, um, but I think something that's common as well is that the people I've met along the way are all committed to lifelong learning and really want to do their part to give back in terms of sharing knowledge, research, skills, experiences, and do some small part to leave the industry they're in or the area of the field of work they're in better than how they found it, with a goal. I think all of us share that goal as well, in terms of raising the bar when it comes to, conducting thorough and accurate risk assessments, implementing risk mitigations measures, and really thinking outside the box in a lot of respects when it comes to that, and improving that planning, preparation, response, and recovery, which are such critical elements, again, regardless of what our role is.
Perfect, perfect.
And if I can say as well, I think like IRSM Voices, I think is a great platform for people to share their stories. And what I'm hoping is that all of us that are doing this, will inspire and help others in, really the important work we're all doing around the globe.
Great. Thank you for highlighting that. So before we wrap it up, I want you to pass something for young people. If listeners or young listeners new to events and safety, and what do you wish they should know, and maybe a small habit they can start immediately.
Great question. I got a few things. So one, be a lifelong learner and really be open to it. Like whether somebody has 1 day on the job or 40 years on the job, or in the field, they have something to teach us. So again, always being open to learning from others, regardless of their background, skills, experience. Seek out learning opportunities. Like I'm happy to say, I'm seeing in my field, I'm seeing more and more opportunities internationally to engage in learning, and it's so important. At the same time, stay humble. Like no matter how much time we have working in our field or how much education we obtain, experience, that we acquire, we never know it all. So again, going back to that, always being open to others and, really remaining humble. And then when you get the opportunity to lead others, it is a real privilege. Be a servant heart leader. So what I mean by that is putting others' needs before your own, taking care of your team, and really just being mindful that if you do a good job of taking care of others, they are going to take care of you. And I don't mean that in a transactional way. It's not giving with the expectation of getting something back. Also, over communicate. I don't think we're all naturally good communicators, and it's something that we need to work at. So, really listening to understand rather than listening to respond. So, really making it about the other person again. And then when we're trying to communicate something, checking for understanding to ensure really what we think we communicated is what was received on the other end. I can't stress enough the importance of relationships. In the work I do, relationships are absolutely critical. So do everything you can to build relationships with others, and just know that the benefits of doing that well are absolutely endless. Ultimately, I mean, we're in the people business. Like think about it. Those of us working in our fields, we're all interacting and working with others. And if we make people feel valued, respected, and heard, I believe the benefits again are endless. So, those would be kind of the key points.
Great, great. I feel like this episode is full with lessons learned and a lot of takeaways. Aaron, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And for our listeners, if you like what we're doing, please follow us on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. There is a channel called ISRM Canada. You can find all the ISRM Voices episodes over there. Until next time, this is your host, Musaab Fagiri. Stay safe, stay ready.